Being one of the most notorious fugitives in the world, I never expected to be reborn into a prestigious military and police family. My grandfather and father are high-ranking officials, and my grandmother is a well-known expert in the administrative system. Even my mother is a world-renowned forensic pathologist. Being reborn into a family like this puts immense pressure on me. But since I know all about criminal methods, when I saw the decade-old serial murder case, the incredibly bizarre elevator murder case, and the shocking 10 hints that shook the world, I proved to everyone that I'm not just some young master from a military and police family. I'm the king of both crime and administration. I rubbed my temples, put down my chopsticks, and wanted to head to the yard. Just as I reached the door, Mom rushed in. She glanced at the breakfast on the table and smiled with satisfaction. Not bad, not bad. Young, you've finally gotten rid of your old bad habits. Come here, Mom's giving you a reward. A reward? I leaned in, but she pinched my face and twisted it a few times. I yelled, Mom, this reward is way too weird. Ha ha ha. Mom doesn't have time to prepare a gift for you right now. I'll owe you one. There's a big case in Kyoto, and I have to head back soon. She laughed and turned to go upstairs. In her rush, the documents in her hand fell to the floor. I walked over to pick them up and teased her. No wonder Dad says you becoming a forensic pathologist is the world's greatest miracle. Look at this carelessness. Exactly like Dad said. Mom's face turned red, and she said angrily, You little brat, you dare mock me? Forget it, I don't have much time. I need to get back. She stopped talking, but I grabbed her hand. When I picked up the documents, I saw a photo of a crime scene. Frowning, I said to Mom, Mom, this case isn't simple. My mom, Su Wanrong, looked a little surprised, staring at me. What do you know? Go do your own thing. School starts in a few days. Don't you need to review your lessons? If Su Wanrong hadn't reminded me, I would have forgotten that I'm just a 17-year-old high school student now. Second semester of junior year is coming up, but my focus was still on that photo. I held it up and looked at it closely. This killer is kind of twisted. Death should just be the end, but this victim's head is placed on the ground. Yet after death, they still used a knife to leave cut after cut on the body, especially on the front. That's some serious grudge. Su Wanrong heard this and shook her head with a bitter smile. You don't understand. This killer. Mom, you think this killer is a repeat offender, right? And you were going upstairs to grab the files on the serial murder case from 10 years ago. As soon as I said that, Su Wanrong's eyes went wide. She asked in surprise, How did you know? Mom, in your study, you've always organized various cases, and the serial torture murder case from 10 years ago has always been a sore spot for you and Dad. Given the condition of this female corpse and how urgently you ran upstairs, I knew you were going for those files. It's not that hard. Not bad, not bad. You actually have such sharp insight. So tell me, why do you think this killer had a grudge against the female victim? The 10-year-old serial case. All the evidence shows the killer acted on impulse. According to your reasoning, just based on the stab wounds, you shouldn't be able to rule out the suspect from 10 years ago, right? I never said this case wasn't committed by that same killer from 10 years ago. Maybe he really did have a grudge against this woman. I smiled and didn't say more. Su Wanrong watched me walk away, then suddenly came over and grabbed my wrist, smiling. Yi Yang, Mom needs your help with something. I turned around and asked, What is it? Come on, go to the hospital with me to do the autopsy. Su Wanrong dragged me all the way to the hospital. But just as we reached the entrance, we were surrounded by a bunch of reporters with cameras. Professor Su is here. Professor Su. Regarding this torture murder case, do you think the killer is the same person as the one from the serial torture murder case 10 years ago? Professor Su, as the lead forensic pathologist back then, and the only case in your career where you couldn't find any clue about the killer, what do you have to say? Once surrounded, the reporters bombarded her with one question after another. Su Wanrong's brows furrowed tightly. Autopsy work is Su Wanrong's strength, but dealing with reporters is not. The reporters weren't wrong. In Su Wanrong's forensic career, there was a stain. Back when her reputation was at its peak, she had no leads on that serial murder case. She looked like she was about to get angry, but then a hand reached out from behind her. I stepped in front of Su Wanrong. Anyone blocking my way, I shoved aside. Murder case first, reporting second. The case just happened. What kind of report do you reporters want? Do you realize that every second you waste could let the criminal get away? All of you move aside. My face was ice cold as I pulled Su Wanrong forward. The reporters stood there stunned for a moment. When they came to, someone asked, Who's that kid? The professor's student is so cocky. That's Yi Yang, the eldest son of the Yi family. Right when the case just happened, you're asking all these questions. Aren't you just wasting time? By then, Su Wanrong and I had already reached the hospital morgue door. She pushed it open. Inside were a few police officers and forensic pathologists, recording details about the corpse. When they saw us, they all straightened up and walked over. Professor Su, you're here. And young Master Yi is here too. Everyone was extremely surprised to see me, but after nodding to them, I walked over to the female corpse and looked her over. Looking them over, just as a security officer was about to speak, he saw Su Wanrong. Su Wanrong shook her head at them to stop. In less than half a minute, I withdrew my gaze and said, "Where's the victim's family?" "Young Master Yi Yang. The victim came to the capital from out of town. Her family has been contacted and they're on their way," a security officer replied. I turned and asked again, "So the victim lived alone?" Su Wanrong said, "The victim's name is Huang Fei, 27 years old, working as a manager at a design company. She had two very close girlfriends in the capital. She usually lived with her fiancé, and their relationship was especially good." After hearing that, I just said, "Oh, and put on my gloves." Everyone's expressions immediately tensed up, even Su Wanrong was also stunned. She knew better than anyone that I had never touched a corpse. Ordinary people, upon seeing corpse, feel fear inside. But judging by my posture, it seemed I was about to personally examine the body. A forensic doctor working under Su Wanrong immediately stepped forward and said with a smile, "Young Master Yi, the body has already been examined." I ignored him and, while putting on my gloves, without flinching from the smell, pinched a knife wound on the woman. Under everyone's astonished gaze, using these two fingers, I said, "The time of death should be between 3:30 and 4 o'clock in the morning. The fatal wound is the one to the chest. That knife took her life. The murder weapon is a dagger about 13 centimeters long, about 2 centimeters wide. But the dagger wasn't very sharp, probably from frequent use, so the cut flesh on the body shows some signs of tearing. And at vital spots like the heart, neck, and abdomen, each stab went in almost entirely. After that, haphazard slashes down to the legs and feet, getting shallower. When I finished speaking, I turned around and saw everyone staring at me blankly. I smiled softly, walked up to Su Wanrong, and asked, "What's wrong with you?" Su Wanrong reached out with both hands, rubbed my face hard, and said loudly, "No way. Are you really my Yi Yang?" I rolled my eyes and said helplessly, "If I'm not Yi Yang, who am I?" Impossible. My Yi Yang should be a bit slow-witted. How could he observe for just 10 odd seconds and then examine the victim's injuries like that? And not a single mistake. Su Wanrong was still in shock, but I didn't avoid her. Instead, I looked at the older security officer. "Officer Zhang, please have everyone connected to the victim come and see the body. Consider it a final farewell to the deceased." Officer Zhang took a deep breath, his expression turning much more serious. "All right, I'll take care of it." After Officer Zhang left, I also stepped out for a moment. As soon as I left, I heard the forensic doctors and security officers in the morgue all start talking. Young Master Yi truly grew up under the influence of a master. His autopsy skills just now are absolutely admirable. Really amazing. Aside from Professor Su and Senior Chunfeng, I've never seen anyone able to determine the murder weapon and fatal wounds with just 10 odd seconds of observation. And the time of death. Professor Su, your son is truly a genius. Although smiling in front of a deceased person is inappropriate, for Su Wanrong, who had long been accustomed to death, at this moment, she was immensely proud. Every mother wants her child to be excellent and outstanding. Su Wanrong responded to everyone with a smile. Before long, Officer Zhang brought over all the people connected to the victim. The two best friends and her fiancé entered the morgue together. When they saw Huang Fei's body, all three had the same expression. After a moment of daze, they burst into tears. Especially Huang Fei's boyfriend. In the end, he was completely lost. He slumped to the ground just like them. I had been standing outside the morgue, observing the three of them, and soon pushed the door open and entered. Su Wanrong knew my purpose and asked in a low voice, "Are you sure the killer in this case has nothing to do with the killer from 10 years ago?" "Of course not. The most suspicious one is definitely the killer from the serial torture murder case 10 years ago. But anyone connected to the victim is also a suspect." With that, I walked up to the three of them and looked directly at Huang Fei's boyfriend. I asked, "How long have you known each other?" The man hesitated for several seconds, then looked up at me. Seeing that I was just a teenage student, he lowered his head again. I shrugged and asked the two women, "What about you? How long have you known her?" "We've known Huang Fei for 4 or 5 years. We used to live together, but later Huang Fei and Li Hong got to the point of engagement, so we moved out," one woman said. The other girl also spoke up. "I really can't believe Sister Huang Fei encountered something like this. What kind of person would be so heartless?" Huang Fei's boyfriend, Li Hong, finally spoke, but his voice was trembling. "It's all my fault. I should have stayed with her last night. Why did I leave? If I had stayed with her the whole time, arrived home from work, this wouldn't have happened." After hearing this, I immediately crouched in front of him and asked, "Was she very busy lately?" Her get-off time was after 3 a.m., right? Recently, she had been busy with a design project. A few days ago, she just got some ideas started. These days, she was working overtime to finish it. I kept telling her not to rush, Li Hong said. His emotions flared up again. It's my fault. Why couldn't I have held out a little longer? I stood up and said, Officer Zhang, let them go rest. I'm not leaving. I want to stay with Feifei. We both decided. They got married around the National Day just 2 or 3 months ago. How could this happen? Li Hong roared hysterically. After hearing this, the officers let out heavy sighs. Even Su Wanrong, who was used to scenes of life and death, couldn't help but let out a long breath and mutter, what a shame. I watched calmly. I had created many vicious cases, enough to make the world's elite task forces issue a warrant for me. As a former crime king, no one understood a criminal's mind better than I did. What the eyes see might be real, but it might not be. I shot the officers a glance, and they helped Li Hong and Huang Fei's close friends. Out of the room, Su Wanrong stepped forward and asked, Yang, did you sense something? I didn't answer. Instead, I pulled out from Su Wanrong's file the photos taken at the scene. The photos were clear, covering every angle. I laid out the entire set, in order, flat on the table. After staring at them for 2 minutes, I said, I can be sure. This case is different from the serial case 10 years ago. As soon as I said that, Su Wanrong and the officers were stunned again. Yang, from the method to the brutality, this murder is exactly the same as the one 10 years ago. Right? And on the woman's back, the words I'm back were left. The killer back then also left such a distinct mark. The only difference is that this time it's words, and before it was numbers. In the serial case 10 years ago, each victim had a mark on their back. Back then, each person had numbers like 9 to 1, 9 to 2 on their backs. After reaching 9 to 9, the killer stopped. I listened to the officer's refutations and scoffed. Are you sure the brutality of this case is the same as before? On Huang Fei's body, there are at least 5 vital areas where the entire blade was embedded. But that wasn't the case 10 years ago. The knife wounds on the victims from 10 years ago were all random slashes, but the depth of each wound was about the same, barely breaking the skin. That shows the killer back then was skilled with knives, and his profession must have been related to knives. One officer subconsciously said, even if the depth of the stab wounds varies, that's not enough to rule out the connection, right? The killer 10 years ago was very clever. Or rather, he was just playing games with you officers and coroners. But this killer now is just imitating clumsily, copying without understanding. While speaking, I took out an old photo from Su Wanrong's file, a photo of one of the victims' backs. My finger! I trailed off and walked out. Su Wanrong called out, Yang, where are you going? I grinned. I think I know where to find the killer. I went directly to the company where Huang Fei worked. Since the body was only discovered around 4 or 5 in the morning, the entire office still didn't know that their manager had met with misfortune. I pushed open the door of the design firm where Huang Fei worked. It was exactly work time when I walked in. Everyone sitting at their desks looked like they hadn't woken up yet. When they saw me, Su Wanrong and 2 officers, they asked, Officers, is there something we can help you with? We're here to ask about manager Huang Fei. I said. The person responded, Oh, you're looking for manager Huang. I'll go get him. He's always the first to arrive, so he must be in his office. I grabbed him and said, No need, he's dead. The man and everyone else in the company were stunned, their eyes wide, and they gasped. What? Manager Huang is dead? How is that possible? He was fine yesterday. Yeah, how could this be? He even stayed late to work last night. The once quiet atmosphere became chaotic. I scanned everyone's faces. Behind me, the officer worried about wasting time. So he shouted, Everyone, calm down. We're here to investigate the case. Have any of you noticed anything unusual about Huang Fei recently? Also, did he have any conflicts with anyone in the company? No need. First, let's have everyone who hasn't been in the office these days step forward. Right after the officers finished, I spoke. Both the officers and Su Wanrong looked at me in surprise. I was asking for people who hadn't been at work. I lowered my voice and thought, this can't be that simple, can it? The killer left no trace at the scene, which means he has a certain level of counter-investigation skills. How could he leave himself open to suspicion? I kept a straight face and smiled, just throwing that out there. Soon 3 people stepped forward, 1 man and 2 women, all young. The 3 of them looked uneasy. All of them were visibly shocked and grieving, with one girl even on the verge of tears. I walked up to her, and just as I was about to speak, she couldn't hold it in anymore and started crying. No way, how could Sister Feifei die? She was such a good person. How could she die? The girl said, tears streaming down without stopping. I grabbed a tissue from a nearby table and handed it to her. You and Huang Fei must be pretty close. I'm Sister Fei Fei's assistant. I've been sick the last couple of days, and she practically forced me to go home and rest. I was feeling a little better today, so I came into work. I never expected something like this to happen. I could tell she was really sick. She kept coughing and had a heavy cold in her voice. I nodded slightly and didn't ask more. I quickly moved on to another young man. Just got back today too? And you? I asked. The last girl was different. Su Wanrong's gaze stayed fixed on her almost the entire time. Because when the news of Huang Fei's death was announced, although this girl's face showed shock, a flicker of satisfaction crossed her expression. That look of satisfaction disappeared quickly, but it didn't escape the eyes of Su Wanrong, who had worked with the dead for 20 years. Her instinct told her that this girl must have had a grudge against Huang Fei. At that moment, I was also sizing up. This pretty young woman. What about you? What was the reason? Something came up back home, she said. I asked for 7 days off. How many days did you take? A week, she replied. I showed a hint of realization and smiled. 7 days off? That's quite a lot. May I ask if something major happened back home? No, I was just tired and wanted some time off, she said. I let out an then turned around and said, a 7-day period. If someone wanted to study another person's methods of committing a crime, it's enough, at least enough to copy them fairly well. As I said this, many people were stunned, their eyes turning to the girl. One of the deputy supervisors exclaimed in shock, Xian, what do you mean by that? When Huang Fei died, blood writing was left behind. Anyone who's lived in the capital for over a decade should know what that means. Just as I finished, a middle-aged man widened his eyes and said, that serial torture murder case? Yes, the one from 10 years ago. My tone suddenly turned grim. The way Huang Fei looked after death is no different from the 9 victims 10 years ago, and that girl who just showed a hint of satisfaction. When she heard that, her body immediately trembled. That look of satisfaction was completely gone. She looked up sharply. Why are you staring at me like that? I didn't kill anyone. I let out a cold laugh. But you had a grudge against Huang Fei, didn't you? She slapped me once, but that doesn't mean I'd kill her. Are you raising your head to say that? I'm just saying you had a grudge against Huang Fei, not that you killed her. No need to get so worked up. After that, almost everyone's eyes were fixed on the girl. She became more and more panicked, looking left and right. Su Wanrong walked up beside me and whispered, what, you suspect her? I'm just reflecting. Just now when we said Huang Fei died, her eyes showed a look of satisfaction. I thought she might be you, but now I understand everything. Then I turned to the sick girl. Almost forgot. What's your name? The sick girl was startled, then said in a hoarse voice, my name is Wang Wei. All right, Miss Wang Wei, would you mind coming with us to the hospital morgue? I said with a smile. Why do I have to go? I don't have any grudge against Sister Fei Fei. My smile turned even more unsettling. I never said you had a grudge against her. Didn't you say you two were close? You should see her one last time. Fine. I'll go with you. The girl finally nodded. I suddenly grabbed Wang Wei's wrist and said, even if everyone here sees your pitiful situation, rest assured, the killer is definitely you. At that moment, the office fell into dead silence. Every pair of eyes was fixed on me and on Wang Wei, whom I was holding. Finally, someone came to their senses. Xian, you've got it wrong. How could Wang Wei kill Manager Huang? Didn't you say the case is identical to the serial killings from 10 years ago? The killer should be that person from 10 years ago. And murder requires a motive. Wang Wei has no motive. Exactly, Wang Wei is even afraid of bugs. Manager Huang helped her. She was in debt from gambling, and Manager Huang paid it off. Her colleagues all chimed in. But I immediately looked at the employee who mentioned gambling. She gambles? Yes. She got caught up in online gambling and owed a lot. Last time the debt collectors came to the office, Manager Huang handled it. The other person was stunned. I sneered inwardly, my gaze locking onto Wang Wei like a hawk. I really hope this isn't a case of the farmer and the snake. Take her to the hospital. Another team, search her apartment, I ordered. Wang Wei's face suddenly went pale. I'm just going to see Sister Fei Fei one last time. Why are you treating me like a killer? She was stunned. I sneered inwardly, locking onto Wang Wei with hawk-like eyes. I really hope this isn't a story of the farmer and the snake. Take her to the hospital and send another team to search her place, I ordered. Wang Wei's face suddenly turned pale. I just went to see Sister Fei for the last time. Why are you treating me like a murderer? You couldn't catch them 10 years ago, and now she's struck again. Instead of going after her, why are you coming at me? You sure know a lot about that case from 10 years ago. I squinted, and beside me, Su Wanrong tensed up too. Wang Wei snapped. Is there something wrong with what I said? If you'd caught the killer, Sister Fei Fei would still be alive. Still not admitting it? I stepped forward. The calluses on your hands are fresh, meaning you've been doing physical work lately. You're an assistant. Does the company need you to move things around? She opened her mouth to argue, but I didn't give her the chance. The calluses are one thing. The second thing is, when we said Huang Fei's death was exactly the same as the case 10 years ago, we suddenly relaxed, especially when we zeroed in on this female coworker of yours. Your eyes were full of schadenfreude. I know the criminal mind all too well. My past life taught me that the killer is often the least likely person. Only a real criminal would try so hard to deflect suspicion. Wang Wei came in crying so hard she even moved Su Wanrong. But I don't trust tears. Emotions cloud judgment. Wang Wei's lips trembled. I didn't have that kind of emotion. You're seeing things. I just smirked. To my colleague, call Li Hong. Ask if Wang Wei recently borrowed money from Huang Fei. The call connected. Li Hong sounded exhausted. She asked about 2 weeks ago. Then she asked a few more times after that. But Huang Fei turned her down every time. She even said if Wang Wei couldn't get the money elsewhere, she'd have to let her go. I calmly thanked him. Li Hong asked in shock, "You suspect Wang Wei? I thought the killer was the same guy from 10 years ago." We never confirmed the killer was the same person. We only said the case details were similar. I stared at Wang Wei and said slowly, "So can I assume, after being repeatedly denied loans and knowing Huang Fei once pushed you, you held a grudge and resorted to murder?" Wang Wei's eyes went wide, her lips quivering. After a few seconds, she managed to squeeze out, "I did hate Sister Feifei. But later I came around, she was right, and where's your evidence? You think you can convict me on these guesses?" She even let out a soft laugh. "Don't worry, evidence will be here soon, just a few hours. You didn't have time to erase all the traces, did you? Huang Fei died after 3:30 a.m. It's only around 8 or 9 a.m. now. She needed time to cover things up. If she looked the way she does now, she couldn't have killed anyone, let alone mimic the method from 10 years ago. I backed her up. Forget the hospital. Let's go straight to your place. The people there should have found something by now. Wang Wei's face stiffened. That reaction only made me more certain. I gave the order, "Take her away." Her place was barely 10 minutes from the office. She was eerily quiet the whole ride. When we pulled up to her building, 2 patrol cars were already waiting. A middle-aged officer hurried over when he saw us. "Professor Su, young Master Yi, you shouldn't have to keep running around like this." Su Wanrong shook her head. "Helping solve the case is my duty." "Has the bureau been notified?" "The city bureau has already ordered. Because of the similarities to the case 10 years ago, they want it solved within a week." And he paused. "And what?" Su Wanrong sneered. "Mayor Zhang from the city committee emphasized today at the meeting that if another murder like this happens, every department in the bureau will be held accountable to the fullest." Su Wanrong gave a cold laugh. "We won't need a week. It'll be solved today." Everyone was stunned. Solved today. To be precise, within an hour. I looked at Wang Wei. "Isn't that right, Miss Wang?" She stayed silent. Just then, an officer came down from upstairs to report no suspicious items found in the suspect's home. No weapon, not even a knife. Wang Wei finally cracked a smile. "Officers, you believe me now, right? Not so fast. Let's go up and sit for a bit." My tone was casual. "Oh, and do you have any water? I've been talking a while, getting a bit thirsty." "Never let a suspect see you sweat." "Yes," Wang Wei said quietly. We took her up to the 4th floor. Officers were still searching the apartment, but hadn't trashed the place. I spotted the water cooler, poured a glass for Su Wanrong first, then one for myself, and started walking around the apartment. When I reached the bathroom, I stopped and stared at the floor. Su Wanrong came closer. "Yi Yang, what are you looking at?" I pointed at the ground. "Mom, don't you think there's a lot of water on the floor here?" "Miss Wang, do you always shower in the morning?" Wang Wei's eyes darted. "Yeah, so what? What's wrong with water in the bathroom?" "Water's fine. What's not fine is that you're this sick and still took a shower this morning. That takes guts." With that, I opened the only door in the apartment. The place was small. Easy to see everything. Looked like she didn't live extravagantly, probably lost all her money gambling. But when I opened the door, my eyes locked onto something. In Wang Wei's room stood a life-sized plush doll, looking like it had been squeezed and handled a lot. "Give me a rope," I called back immediately. Wang Wei's body swayed. Su Wanrong seemed to guess what was coming but stayed quiet. The officer, though puzzled, handed me a rope. I took it, picked up the plush doll, and examined the faint but present marks on it, wrapping the rope around it. Wang Wei's face turned paper white when I pulled the doll's arms behind its back. "How is this possible?" someone gasped. "Why wouldn't it be?" I said grimly, not stopping my hands. The plush doll slowly took on the same binding position as Huang Fei's. Before I even finished tying it, Wang Wei suddenly broke down, sobbing hysterically. "Stop tying it! Please stop!" Wang Wei collapsed to the ground, sobbing with her head down. I crouched beside her, watching. "What else do you have to say now? Why did you target me from the very beginning?" She looked up. Su Wanrong smiled knowingly. The case was solved. I remained squatting. Yang spoke. Simple. Huang Fei helped more than just you at the company. When I went to announce the death, everyone was shocked first. Except you. You went straight to grief. Isn't that normal? Her voice was weak, but you showed no surprise at all. Then I saw the calluses on your hands, and I was even more sure. Then when someone mentioned you were broke, I was absolutely certain. You are the killer. I paused. Too bad it's a story of the farmer and the snake. I was a criminal before, but I paid my debt once, and I paid back the money too. Why couldn't she help me one last time? Was she that heartless, watching me get beaten to death by debt collectors? If I'm going to die, then we all die. Her face twisted. You know what? I begged her. Did I get nothing in return? I gave her all my design ideas, and what did she do? She took the ideas and then fired me. Doesn't someone like that deserve to die? I was a bit surprised. Whether by coincidence or fate, her phone rang just then. Answer it, I said. You're not past the point where you can't take a call. Who is it? She answered. A pleasant female voice came through the phone. Hello, please arrive at the competition venue within 3 days to compete for the final spot. Wang Wei froze. Su Wanrong and I froze too. Hello, Ms. Wang. Did you hear me? Hello, Ms. Wang. Wang Wei's whole body trembled. Unable to speak, tears streaming uncontrollably. She screamed, Why didn't you tell me? Why? I stood up, my voice cold. In my mind, you deserve to die. But if you can get out of prison, then atone. Su Wanrong handed her a glove and helped her put it on. After Wang Wei stood up, her first question was, So I really was that snake? Yi Yang. Did you know everything all along? Caused by dousing with cold water and then blowing the AC all night, right? I asked. She parted her lips slightly, then finally nodded silently. The first time she rejected me, I was nearly beaten to death by debt collectors. That's when I started planning. Her voice calmed. I searched through all the files on the 10-year-old case and spent over half a month learning the method. A couple days ago I went to her again, and she cursed me out. So I decided to act. After I killed her last night, afraid of being suspected, I did what you said. Came back, poured water on myself, sat in the AC and set up the doll. You were right. I practiced tying her up for half a month with the doll, but because she was bigger, I had to bind her differently. Take her away. I turned, Mom, you can arrange a press conference to announce that last night's torture murder case is solved. Otherwise, if we wait too long, the public might start doubting our family's competence. Su Wanrong nodded approvingly. As Wang Wei was escorted out at the door, she stopped, Yi Yang, and everyone, if I really can get out of prison alive, I will atone. If you ever get the chance, please go to Huang Fei's grave and say I'm sorry for me. She seemed about to say more, but swallowed it back. After she was taken away, the people left in the room. Proud of you today. Later I learned that while I was taking Wang Wei away, in my father Yi Zhengbang's office, the atmosphere was heavy. A case file lay open in front of him, his eyes scanning a room full of worried faces. Let's hear your thoughts, my father said, his tone calm. The Jingdu Municipal Bureau has already announced they'll give the public an answer within a week. As he spoke, a smile involuntarily tugged at the corner of his mouth. Immediately someone spoke gravely. This Zhao Qingyang sure is impatient. That's to be expected. The case happened in their jurisdiction. They have the right. My father didn't seem to mind. What's your analysis? A man in glasses spoke up. This case is complicated and simple at the same time. Complicated because it's identical to the serial torture murder case from 10 years ago. Simple because the killer from 10 years ago has probably resurfaced. He paused, looking at my father. When the case happened 10 years ago, Minister Yi was the director of the Jingdu City Bureau back then. For this case to appear now, really, father waved his hand. Let's only discuss the case. You were all with me from the start. No one knows that case better than we do. The murder from early that morning was gaining traction, bound to rock the city. If we couldn't solve it within the deadline, the entire system would take the fall. His face grew serious. But after much talk, no one offered any meaningful ideas. Watching them exchange clueless looks, my father's heart sank. Maybe years of comfort had dulled their former passion. Just as his anxiety peaked, a knock came at the door. The assistant opened it, and a security officer rushed in, overjoyed. Minister, this is good news. What's the rush? Can't you see we're in a meeting? Someone rebuked. The security officer just arrived. Sorry, I got too excited. Just received the news. The office fell into sudden silence. After 2 or 3 seconds, everyone stood up abruptly. Eyes wide. You're not joking? The killer from 10 years ago has been caught? That's great. That bastard is finally caught. Surprise surged on father's face as well. Indeed, report the full video. What's wrong? There's a twist in the case. Yes, sir. The killer is not the one from 10 years ago. Impossible. The binding method, the victim's condition, the blood writing on the back. All point to 10 years ago. Yes, that binding technique is too familiar to us. It's unique in decades. Impossible to be wrong. Father was also full of doubt. Just then, indeed. You, like me, have been deceived by the method. All the world is guilty. He alone bleeds. Yi Zhangbang. Your Yi family has raised a fine son. To dare call her father by his first name like that, only Mother Su Wanrong would. Wanrong, what do you mean by that? Does the case involve Yi Yang? Father was as if lost in a fog. Mother nodded, her tone certain. The killer's binding method is just roughly the same. We studied the victim for who knows how long, but Yi Yang took only 3 seconds to find the difference. And the killer, he caught and brought to justice in just over an hour. They looked at details for hours. Someone saw through in 3 seconds. They used equipment and experience painstakingly searching. Someone in just over an hour made the real culprit surrender. That person is me. After the shock, Father's laughter echoed through the office. The others, though extremely embarrassed, were happy for him. No wonder he's from a master family. Young Master Yi is only 17 this year, right? Mother smiled and nodded. That person took a deep breath and gave a thumbs up. Amazing. I'm the first to admit defeat. But, sister-in-law, since the real killer is not the one from 10 years ago, then who is it? The victim Huang Fei's assistant, Wang Wei. A person who looks. Everyone was shocked again. The whole morning, they had never placed suspicion on Huang Fei's colleague. The bystander sees clearly. The participant is confused. Well said, bystander sees clearly. Father immediately said, notify Zhao Qingyang immediately to hold a press conference to report the case. Wanrong, have Yi Yang attend on site. She straightened her back, but Mother chuckled and shook her head. Yi Zhangbang. My precious son said, the Yi family's revenge is never too late even after 10 years. The 1-week deadline is still long. He wants to reclaim the face the Yi family lost back then. Father sharply inhaled, his voice full of disbelief. Yi Yang. He wants to dig out the killer from 10 years ago. I returned home and went straight into the study. Aunt Wang called me to eat. I responded, telling her not to disturb me. I found the 10-year-old case file. It was very thick, but I read patiently. September 16, 2007, 6 a.m. At Fengyang Park in Shaoguang District, female body found, Li Yulin, 23. Head hitting the ground, skull fracture. Death from severe head trauma. September 18, 2007. At the Green Belt on Qingguang Road in Eryang District, Huang Xiaoya. Died from asphyxiation. September 29, 2007. Under Chaoguang Bridge, Zhang Yuhuan. Raped and then thrown into the river. I read through the monk case file in one go, picked up a pen and wrote down all the clues. 10 years. Today's criminal investigation methods are worlds apart. If the same case happened today, it might have been solved long ago. I was immersed in paper and pen until Mother came in with lunch. Mom, why are you back? Aunt Wang called saying you haven't come down to eat and was afraid to disturb you. As she spoke, her gaze fell on what I had written. Suddenly her eyes widened. Where did you find this? The criminal's psychological activity trajectory. I smiled. It's simple. Compare each case. This time we can distinguish. Look, from the very beginning, she decided to kill 9 people. So on the first victim's back, she wrote 9:1. But from the photo, the handwriting shows many tremors. This means she was also scared the first time. Look at the second victim. The blood writing on the back is clearly steadier. As the victims increased, the real killer's handwriting became a mess towards the end. Why? Because when she killed up to the 9th person and still wasn't caught, in her heart she felt she was the king. The king who can defy all laws. From being terrified at the start to gradually getting used to it, her state of mind changed from the first to the 9th person, and she stopped after killing 9. So, a previous conclusion can be overturned. Mother hadn't caught on yet. What conclusion? The killer was not randomly choosing targets. She might be a psycho, but she is definitely a purposeful criminal. These 9 victims, whether directly or indirectly, must be connected. As I said the last word, Mother almost instinctively refuted. Impossible. These 9 people don't know each other at all. How could there be a connection? And this conclusion. Do you know who made that determination? Of course I do, my father. I asked back, but it was my father's conclusion. Seeing he still didn't believe me, I continued, Mom, this is too simple. Even if he decided to kill 9 people, he would only write a separate 9 or 8, no need to overcomplicate it by leaving a 9-to-1 ratio. So I concluded that from the very beginning he had chosen the number and selected the targets, these 9 victims. They must be connected to him. I explained it so clearly that my mother had to believe me. In his mind, Father was the greatest administrative genius. But I wasn't wrong. My analysis all pointed to one thing. The 9 victims must have some relationship. Then what will you do next? He let out a long breath. Find these 9 families and investigate again. This time we have to dig deeper. But it's been 10 years, they might not all be in the capital. We'll look up as many as we can. 3 families should be enough. I finished speaking and was about to get up. I had barely taken 2 steps when my mother grabbed me, looking fierce. Sit down. Even my precious son has to eat first. Hurry up and finish your meal, then your mom here will go with you. No leaving until you finish. After lunch, my mother Su Wanrong and I went to the police station to check household registration records. 10 years of change. Indeed, a lot had happened. 3 families had permanently left the capital, and most of the other 6 had also moved to new addresses. The capital had developed rapidly these years. They had gone from well-off families to multimillionaires or even billionaires. The first household we visited was that of the first victim, Li Yulin, now living in a community on the outskirts of the capital. I pressed the doorbell. An elderly woman in her 60s opened the door. Who are you? Is there something? She had a puzzled look on her face. My mother gave a broad smile. Sister, don't you remember me? I'm Su Wanrong. The old woman straightened up, and her eyes immediately reddened. You're forensic Dr. Su. She quickly let us in. The house was fully furnished. Living comfortably, we sat down and she brought tea, with a look of wanting to say something but hesitating. I spoke directly. Auntie, we're here today about your daughter's case from 10 years ago. Her body swayed, her voice trembling. It's been 10 years. Is there a new lead in the case? There are some new hypotheses. I'll ask a few questions. Just tell me what you know. She nodded nervously. Did your daughter Li Yulin know Huang Ye, the later victim? No. Then do you or your husband know the parents of Huang Ye and Zhang Yuhuan? No. After the incident, our families met, but we weren't close. I changed the subject. Auntie, do you still have any of her belongings at home? Can I take a look? She shook her head. Apart from a few photos, the things she used while alive were either buried with her or burned as offerings. I didn't dare keep them. Looking at them hurts too much. That's understandable. Some choose to keep keepsakes, others can't bear to touch the memories. We didn't stay long. We found no valuable clues here. As we left, Li Yulin's mother tightly grasped my mother's hand. Forensic Dr. Su, tell me the truth. After 10 years, can this case still be solved? My mother didn't know how to answer, but I spoke up. Auntie, don't worry. 1 week. She looked at my expression and suddenly perked up. Good, good. If you can find the truth, then these 10 years won't have been wasted. As we left the Li residence, my mother scolded me slightly. Why are you so sure? We didn't find any clues today. Not entirely useless, I said. At least we ruled out the possibility of grudges from the previous generation. What we need to find next is the connection between Li Yulin, Huang Ye, and Zhang Yuhuan, these girls. We went downstairs and hadn't gotten in the car yet. When Li Yulin's mother chased after us, Forensic Dr. Su, wait, she ran over, pulled a shopping card from her pocket. It wasn't buried with her. I just suddenly remembered. See if this is of any use. I took the card, my eyes lit up, and then I smiled. Auntie, this is useful. After Li Yulin's mother went back upstairs, my mother looked at me as if I'd found a treasure, and asked in confusion, Yiyong, what's so special about this card? Mom, you've gone through every victim's identity and occupation. Thoroughly. I only said that, leaving the puzzle for her to solve. After about 10 minutes of driving, my mother suddenly had a flash of insight and snatched the shopping card from me. On the card were several gold-embossed characters. Golden Department Store. It was a shopping mall that had been driven out of the capital 3 years ago due to the impact of e-commerce, but this very mall became a crucial clue. The third victim, Zhang Yuhuan, was a saleswoman here and later worked at Golden Department Store. I didn't wait for my mother to say more and spoke directly. My mother suddenly realized and laughed in exasperation. You little rascal, you knew the moment you saw the card, yet you kept me in suspense for over 10 minutes in the car. Don't you know your mom is pressed for time? Figuring it out was worth more than those 10 minutes. I smiled. No one expected that there would be a connection between Li Yulin and Zhang Yuhuan through Golden Department Store. 10 years ago, it was at its peak. Now all we need to do is find out whether anything happened there that could be linked to the murder before the first victim was killed. If we can find that, the range of possible culprits would narrow significantly. Mother couldn't help reaching out and pinching my face, shaking it left and right. Unbelievable. This is really my precious son. Tell me, if it weren't for the family lineage, were you planning to hide it forever? I gave a non-committal smile. I could overlook other things, but making my mom lose face. That's the one thing I won't allow. Mother was overjoyed, hugging my shoulders tightly. Mom is truly happy. Now my son can finally protect me. The car fell silent. Soon after, we arrived at the former site of Golden Department Store. It's now renamed Dewan Plaza, a one-stop shopping, leisure, and entertainment complex. After getting out of the car, Mother said, the mall's top boss has changed, but fortunately, the general manager is still Lee Mingwa from the old Golden department store. We should be able to get leads from him. We headed straight to the general manager's office. The door opened, and Lee Mingwa greeted us with a smile. Professor Su, young Master Yi, what an honor. We sat down. He looked curious. The two of you coming to see me personally, I'm truly flattered. What's the matter? 10 years ago, before September 16, 2007, did anything major happen at Golden department store? Lee Mingbo paused, then gave a dry laugh. Oh, Golden department store, that's such a distant memory. Before September 16, 2007, that's too broad a range. How could I possibly remember? It makes sense. 10 years, indeed not easy. But as I looked into his eyes, a cold smile crept onto my face. Manager Lee means he can't recall. In 2007, Golden department store seemed to have no major incidents. My smile grew colder. Very well. Now, as police personnel, we require your assistance in the case. For Golden department store in 2007. Compile all events that had any impact, no matter how minor, and deliver them to Minister Ye's office by 9 a.m. tomorrow. Remember, every detail, anything that made a ripple, don't leave out a single one. Lee Mingbo's eyes widened. Young Master Yi, what do you mean by that? Every detail, everything recorded? Manager Lee's eyes told me he must have thought of something but was hesitant to speak. I stood up. If that's the case, then this is the only way. At 9 a.m. tomorrow, I hope Minister Yi will see your records. With that, I gave Mother a look and turned to leave. Just as we were about to go, Lee Mingbo panicked. Professor Su, young Master Yi, please don't rush. It's been too long. I need time to think. With the Yi family angry now, this mall could be inspected from morning till night. From normal business hours until it's forced to close down. That's not impossible. Mother actually didn't quite understand why I suddenly turned hostile. Lee Mingbo's words seemed reasonable. Something so long ago, how could it be easily recalled? But no matter what I was going to do, he would naturally stand by my side. I stopped and turned to look at him. Manager Lee, you've made your point. We're asking about a 10-year-old torture murder case today. If you know something and don't report it, and it's eventually discovered, you will bear legal responsibility. With that, I turned again. Lee Mingbo gritted his teeth. Fine, I'll tell you. 10 years ago, before September 16th, Golden department store did have a major incident, and it involved me. I whipped around. What incident? How does it involve you? On September 10th, 2007. An elevator accident that killed someone. The victim was my son. As he said this, his eyes turned red, his expression ferocious. Mother and I were stunned. September 10th. That's 6 days before the first torture murder case. Something big really happened at Golden department store. What was with the elevator accident? Depressed. Lee Mingbo seemed lost in agony, speaking weakly. That day was a weekend. My wife was busy, so I brought the kid to the mall. I never imagined she would, when I wasn't paying attention. Go play on the escalator. Even worse, the escalator malfunctioned just then, and she got completely caught in it. His voice began to tremble. Young Master Yi, do you know? Her head was crushed, brains splattered all over the escalator. Everywhere on the mezzanine. By the end, he was like a desperate beast, his eyes full of rage. Mother whispered, I'm sorry. Lee Mingbo hung his head, as if he hadn't heard. I looked at him for a long time, then sighed. I'm sorry, Manager Lee. I didn't expect it to be something like this. He lifted his reddened eyes and forced a smile. Is there anything else you want to know? The smile carried hatred, as if asking, is killing people fun? We didn't stay any longer. We left his office and got back in the car. Seeing me deep in thought, Mother asked, Yang, what are you thinking? I'm thinking, in 6 days, how to connect Lee Mingbo, his son Li Yulin, Huangya and Zhang Yuhuan, all of them together. Mother's eyes widened. You're not saying that Lee Mingbo is the murderer? No. Anyone connected to the 10-year-old case will be considered a suspect. Lee Mingbo is a suspect. Even everyone from Golden department store back then could be. I know. I'm just thinking whether he had the capability, in 6 days, to come up with and execute such a meticulously planned murder. I like to list everyone as a suspect first, then eliminate them one by one. The last one left is the killer. The old case files had plenty of assumptions, but nobody ever thought to look from the Golden department store angle. That might be a new direction, or maybe the right one. Mom, dig deeper into the higher-ups at Golden department store back then. Find out who's still in Jingdu. Specifically, ask if Li Yulin and Huang Ye were present when the elevator incident happened. If there's any video footage from back then, that'd be ideal. I remember some footage existed, just not sure if it's still preserved. So what are we waiting for? Let's go now. The driver sped up at the word, but my mom hesitated. Are we really going to the security bureau? That's Zhao Qingyang's turf. Aren't you afraid of tipping him off? Where there are people, there's intrigue. Where there's intrigue, there's conflict. Zhao Qingyang isn't really a match for the Yi family, but the family backing him is on par with ours. Tripping each other up is common. I understood Mom's concern but gave a confident smile. Mom, don't forget, we're investigating a serial torture murder case from 10 years ago. The car soon arrived at the security bureau. A lot of people there knew Mom. They stood up to greet her, and word naturally reached Zhao Qingyang. He showed up late with a big smile. Oh, Professor Su Yang, what brings you here? Did you find new leads on this morning's homicide? He couldn't wait to pump us for info on the Dawn case. Mom forced a smile. We're here to get more detailed records on the torture murder case from 10 years ago. Your bureau should still have them on file, Chief Zhao. Of course, every case the security bureau has handled, no matter how minor, is catalogued and archived. But a 10-year-old case won't be easy to track down. You can ask at the archives. Since you're looking into it, the entire Jingdu Security Bureau will make things convenient. He waved his hand with an air of authority. But these days, in the age of computer information, the archives still exist, but most files are stored permanently on computers. If we actually have to dig through paper records, who knows how long that would take? Mom's expression turned sour. Chief Zhao, can't we just check the computer? Sorry, but all the systems here are undergoing optimization and upgrades today, so they're temporarily unavailable. If you're willing to wait, feel free to hang around. Mom was about to argue, but I spoke up with a smile. No need. We'll go find them in the archives ourselves. Young Master Yi. Professor Su has clearance to view the files, but you don't have that authority, Zhao Qingyang said with a faint smile. I'm not part of the security system, so I don't have clearance for confidential files. But that won't stop me. Chief Zhao, your intel is a bit slow. I smiled slightly. I wasn't part of the security system before, but as of 1 second ago, I was hired as a special investigator for this case. If you don't believe me, I won't say minutes ago, or hours ago, I'll say 1 second ago. Zhao Qingyang's face immediately darkened. I see. I'll look into that later. Someone, take Professor Su and young Master Yi to the archives. Let them take their time. Mom knew the place well. It used to be Dad's office. She didn't wait for an escort, and headed straight to the archives. Inside, only 2 older security officers were there. After exchanging greetings, I asked, which shelf holds the case files for the serial torture murder case from '07? They exchanged a look and gave a wry smile. There are a lot of archives every year. Case files? They're on shelf C12. But that shelf has a few hundred cases, at least, maybe 1,000. How do we search? Without answering, I went straight to shelf C12 and started looking by month. Finding them wasn't the hard part. The hard part was pulling out the case details from a mountain of documents. Mom and I climbed up on ladders to look. After who knows how long, Mom finally let out a soft gasp. We found them. Seeing so many case files, Mom couldn't help rolling her eyes. This case dragged on forever. I didn't realize it piled up this much. We only need the interview records from back then. Our family already has a lot of documentation. Skip the extras, they just waste time. I reminded her, but I didn't reach for any files. Instead, I kept searching the shelves. Mom quietly flipped through, focusing on the records of civilians interviewed, and especially the notes from assisting officers. She didn't skip any. Time ticked by. After a long while, a strange smile crept across my face. Mom, isn't there a guy named Xiao Dejiang who did the interviews in that case? Mom immediately dug through the files. There is. How did you know? I held up a file and said with absolute certainty, the torture murder case from 10 years ago. That case shook the entire city. As the lead forensic examiner, Mom cared about it no less than any detective. She vaguely remembered being present when they called Xiao Dajiang in for questioning. Her memory sharpened. She set down the case file. Xiao Dajiang, if I remember right, was the head of security at Golden Department Store. Exactly. I handed her the file I was holding. Mom's eyes narrowed. This is the case file on the elevator death? I nodded. Yeah, the records from the day Li Mingbo's son died. It should be the security chief of the gold sector, right? I handed her the case file in my hand. Mother's gaze sharpened. This is the case file for the elevator maniac incident. I nodded. Yes, the record from the day Li Mingbo's son died. And guess what else I found? What? I said, there are a few statements here, including Zhang Yuhuan's. My mother took them and softly read the records. That day, Manager Li's child was playing on the escalator. I yelled at him several times, but he clearly heard me and ignored me, because the store manager called me. I was about to go back to my post, but then, as soon as I turned around, the escalator malfunctioned. The child's body got pulled in, and his head exploded. Then why didn't you press the emergency stop button? I was terrified at the time. Everyone around me was scared. No one could think straight. These were all Zhang Yuhuan's statements back then. They let us know what really happened. Li Mingbo's child kept playing despite warnings. Everyone was restrained by his father's status, unsure whether to speak up or stay silent. No one expected the escalator to malfunction at that moment. first swallowing the child's foot. If someone had pressed the emergency stop button then, the worst outcome would have been amputation, not death. My mind started racing, analyzing and thinking, but I held back one possibility. Instead, I asked another question. Oh, why isn't there any relevant video footage? My mother's expression turned odd. The crime scenes of the serial torture murder case weren't like today. The only footage left were scattered clips of the victims while they were alive. A major shopping mall escalator accident that killed a child. Why isn't there any video evidence left? My mother was stunned. That can't be. The case file shows that the investigators at the time reviewed the footage, but the materials were never archived. I put the case file back on the shelf and pulled my mother up. Let's go find Xiao Dajiang. My gut tells me he's the key link between the two cases. If we find him, we can definitely nail the killer from 10 years ago. My mother didn't say another word. We put back the case file and left the archives immediately. Just as we stepped out, we left the Public Security Bureau and went to the department that handles household registration. Otherwise, in a city as big as Jingdu, finding one person would be nearly impossible. The director was cooperative. After all, no one dares to refuse the Yi family. But Xiao Dajiang, that name is too common. Xiao isn't a rare surname, and Dajiang is even more ordinary. To get the news as soon as possible, we even ignored Wang Ma's call to come home for dinner. Until 8 in the evening, a staff member finally ran over with documents. Professor Su, young Master Yi. We found Xiao Dajiang. We both stood up at once. Where does he live now? The staff member's expression turned awkward. I frowned. The Xiao Dajiang who used to be a security captain? He paused and lowered his voice. He died 10 years ago. Shock spread across both my mother's and my faces. The serial torture murder case from 10 years ago. A crucial figure had actually died 10 years ago. That was something I never expected. Whether it was the torture murder case 10 years ago or Li Mingbo's son's escalator tragedy. In my mind, Xiao Dajiang had always served as a connecting link. He gave statements in both cases. I didn't waste time and immediately told the staff member, this is the man I'm looking for. But he died in a car accident on October 4, 2007. The driver was caught a few months later, but soon after, he died of cancer in prison. After reading all the materials, I narrowed my eyes. This was a murder for hire. My mother, a forensic expert with over 20 years of experience, also sensed from these oddities that his death wasn't simple. Golden department store saleswoman Zhang Yuan died on September 29, Xiao Dajiang on October 4, only 5 days apart, and the driver who killed Xiao Dajiang was a cancer patient. It made you suspicious whether you wanted to be or not. Looks like the torture murder case 10 years ago didn't have just 9 victims. My mother's voice dropped low. It was 10. I let go of the mouse. It's dark. Let's put the case aside for now. Let's go home and eat. My mother checked her watch and slapped her forehead. It's already past 8. I got used to it again. You can't be young and keep skipping meals. When she mentioned food, she got especially upset and dragged me out. When we got back to the Yi residence, all the lights were on. My father, Yi Zhengbang, was sitting on the sofa watching TV. Next to him were 2 elderly people, my grandparents, Yi Guoliang and Shui Yuzhu. Grandpa had a stern face, but it held a deep understanding of the world. People in Jingdu once described the Yi family like this. Except for that teenage young master, every family member, male or female, was a tiger or leopard in the military and police world. Even my seemingly kind grandmother, Shui Yuzhu, was a renowned administrative expert at home and abroad. Though retired, no one had forgotten how she once went to the Northeast in person and captured the head of the country's top gang at the time. Seeing me walk through the door, Grandpa smiled. Grandpa, Grandma, why are you back? Grandma dotes on me the most. The moment she saw her precious grandson, she beamed with joy and stood up, gripping my hand tightly. Then she looked outside at the dark sky. Son, have you eaten? Father looked utterly stunned. Mom, didn't we just eat together? You still have the nerve to eat? Grandma was annoyed. The kid's been running around for you all day, and you're home feasting on fancy dishes. Is that how a wife behaves? Father's face turned sour as a lemon. You were enjoying the meal just a moment ago, weren't you, ma'am? He didn't dare say it out loud, so he just kept apologizing. Grandma snorted and yelled toward the kitchen. Wang Ma, fry up 2 new dishes. I can't let my precious grandson go hungry. Good daughter-in-law, mother, and I feel a bit awkward. After the meal, Grandpa took off his glasses and asked, Yang, I heard you spent the whole day out investigating with your mother. So, did you learn a lot? Father perked up immediately. What? Any leads on the case from 10 years ago? Before he could finish, Grandma slapped him on the back of the head. You have the nerve to ask? If it weren't for your father and me back then, you wouldn't be sitting comfortably in that seat. Mom, you can't just favor your grandson over your son. I'm the one you gave birth to, but he's still my grandson. You've been around for over 40 years. I'm already tired of looking at you. Grandma said this while peeling an orange for me. I ate the orange and laughed. The reason the case from 10 years ago wasn't solved is largely due to the investigators' carelessness. Right, Mother added. Don't say that. The biggest reason is you, Yi Zhengbang. Father frowned. Back then, I was cautious every step of the way. How could I have been careless? We didn't check Golden Department Store. And the victims weren't completely unrelated, I said slowly. Victim Li Yulin had a shopping card for Golden Department Store. Victim Zhang Yuhuan was a saleswoman there. Shortly after Zhang Yuhuan died, Security Captain Xiao Dajiang died in a suspicious car accident. Before that, there was Li Mingbo's son, who died in a freak elevator accident. The key place, Golden Department Store, was completely overlooked. That's how the real killer got away for 10 years, and our family has been blamed for a decade. Father's face went pale. He didn't say a word, just stared at me intently. Grandpa and Grandma did the same. The difference was that Grandma grabbed a pen and quickly jotted down notes on paper. Before long, she wrote down a name. Li Mingbo. Barring any surprises, he's the prime suspect. Grandma put down the pen. I glanced at it and gave a thumbs up. Grandma, you haven't lost your touch. With just those few words from me, you thought the same thing I did. But Grandma's face wasn't smiling. It was deadly serious. Even if you and I suspect Li Mingbo, what about the evidence? It's been a year. The evidence must have been destroyed by now. No, I said with a slight smirk. Xiao Dajiang or Zhang Yuhuan should tell us where the evidence is. But they're dead, aren't they? Someone once said, from my own experience, the dead can still speak. It was late. The lights in the Yi residence went out completely, but in one room, the parents were still awake. Wanrong, have you noticed Yi Yang seems a bit off? Father set down his book, frowning slightly. Mother was displeased. You've got some nerve talking. If it weren't for the case 10 years ago, do you think Yanger would be willing to show his face? Right now, with the public opinion about Huang Fei's case, if we can't explain ourselves, what will the Yi family have to bear? I understand the consequences. But hasn't Huang Fei's case already been cleared up? Mother scoffed. Yi Zhengbang, I think you've been in a high position so long your brain has gone soft. If you announce in public that the killer is Wang Wei, how many people would believe you? The case from 10 years ago has left an indelible shadow in the hearts of Kyoto residents. Huang Fei's death has been reported, and the whole city is in uproar. People are gossiping on every street corner. Everyone's saying the murderer from back then is back. The online attacks are unstoppable. Some have even doxed father and mother, who were in charge of the case back then. But, come to think of it, I'm also surprised. The old Yanger was weak, even a bit naughty, completely unlike a soldier's descendant. Yet after spending a day with him today, I feel I've misjudged him all along. He really is my child. In the end, she couldn't help boasting again. Father also puffed out his chest, a proud look on his face. But they never expected that on this quiet, deep night, someone opened the door and quietly left the Yi residence. That someone was me. It was already late at night. I walked a long way before I finally hailed a taxi. The driver looked tired. Young man, coming home so late? Your parents don't scold you. I smiled and shook my head. Late is better. Driver, take me to Hillside Forest Park on the outskirts. The driver's eyes widened, his face tense. Where are you going? Hillside Forest Park. I nodded. Yes. Late at night, a 17-year-old boy not going home or to an internet cafe, but heading to a forest park. It was past midnight. The driver rubbed his face hard, confirming I was a living person, then took a deep breath. After all, a fare to the outskirts would earn him a good amount. He mustered his courage and drove. We arrived at the park at 1 in the morning. I got out, and the driver kindly asked, "Young man, what brings you here so late? Catching a thief?" I thought about coming up with you to see. The driver quickly shook his head and sped off. I smiled and walked into the park. The forest park was eerily dark at this hour, but I didn't care. In my past life, I had spent time in a cemetery, even sat in front of gravestones all night long. Feeling the chill around me, I quickened my pace. Before long, I stopped in front of a tomb. On the headstone was a photo of a man about 30, rugged features but somewhat ordinary. I looked at the grave and said softly, "Xiao Dajiang." It was late at night. I walked for a long time before hailing a taxi. The driver looked tired. "Young man, coming home this late? Don't your parents scold you?" I smiled and shook my head. "Late is better." "Driver, take me to the outskirts Huanshan Forest Park." The driver's eyes widened, his expression tense. "Where are you going?" "Huanshan Forest Park," I nodded in reply. Late at night, a 17-year-old kid, not going home or to an internet cafe. "But you want to go to the forest park? It's past midnight." The driver fiercely wiped his face, making sure I was alive. Then he took a deep breath. After all, driving to the outskirts would earn him a good fare. He mustered his courage and drove. When we reached the forest park, it was already 1 a.m. I got out, and the driver kindly asked, "Young man, coming here late at night, What's your business? Catching a thief. I'll go up and take a look with you, I said. The driver quickly shook his head and sped off. I smiled. Walking into the forest park, the night woods felt eerie, but I didn't mind. In my past life, I had stayed in cemeteries. I had even sat in front of tombstones all night. Feeling the chill around me, I quickened my pace. Shortly after, I stopped before a grave. On the tombstone was a photo of a man around 30, with a rugged face, but somewhat generic. I looked at the tombstone and whispered, Xiao Dajiang. You said your former superior Li Mingbo, will he come see you tonight? After saying that, I stepped aside. I know all too well the psychology of certain criminals, especially those who've pulled off major cases and never been caught. Their minds are arrogant and proud. In public, they might put on and act like a pushover, but the moment they turn away, their eyes are like venomous snakes, acting perfectly normal. But if he really is the killer, then he should realize that Xiao Dajiang is about to surface. Once that hits him, he might come to Xiao Dajiang's grave to boast about his achievements over the past 10 years, though the odds are slim. But for a murderer with blood on his hands, the only ones he can spill his secrets to are the dead. Time ticked by who knows how long. Out of the corner of my eye, I suddenly caught a glint of light. A flash came from down in the cemetery. It vanished quickly, but I spotted it. A few minutes later, a figure in a suit and tie appeared in front of Xiao Dajiang's tombstone. He sat down, silently lit a cigarette, and then let out a voice full of cold laughter. Xiao Dajiang. Finally someone's remembering my masterpiece from 10 years ago. I wonder which rookie went and tried to copy my killings, couldn't even tie a rope right, and dared to impersonate me. Isn't that laughable? But those idiots at public security are still the same as 10 years ago. Tell me, should I really make a comeback? Back then, I killed to avenge my son. But I never thought killing would become addictive. You have no idea how much I've itched these past 10 years. As his words trailed off, I stepped out from the shadows. I smiled and said, Li Mingbo, how about I give you a chance to scratch that itch? When I emerged from the shadows, Li Mingbo's face was filled with shock. What are you doing here? He stood up in alarm. I chuckled softly. Relax. You're a high IQ criminal who's been on the run from the authorities for 10 years and still free. A high IQ criminal getting nervous so easily? That doesn't fit your profile. His expression flickered darkly. After a long silence, he finally spoke. You already suspected me when you saw me during the day, didn't you? No, let me rephrase. You knew you couldn't hide much longer the moment we found you. But Li Mingbo burst out laughing. I know you're probably wearing a recording device, but don't you know that a recording taken without the other person's consent can't be used as evidence in court? I'm not as complicated as you think. I shook my head. I never bother with recordings. I just came to see what kind of person you really are. He frowned, seemingly skeptical. Though recordings can't be primary evidence, they can serve as supporting evidence. But seeing my expression, he began to probe with a cold sneer. So, what kind of person do you think I am? You're definitely someone good at committing crimes. By the way, where did you learn that binding technique? From your son's death to Li Yulin's murder, there were only a few days, not nearly enough time to learn it. I think you already knew it long before. A hint of smugness suddenly appeared on his face. That binding technique had caused countless panics 10 years ago. He coldly threw out 2 words. You guess. Then he turned and started walking down the cemetery path. Watching his back, I said calmly, Hold on. What? Still trying to fish for information from me? He turned back with a sneer. Yang, I'm just here tonight to visit my former subordinate. The law doesn't say you can't visit someone in the dead of night, and I don't understand a single word you're saying. So even if you speculate I'm the killer without evidence, I'm still Li Yulin, the general manager of Dewan Shopping Mall. After saying that, he couldn't help laughing again and walked off without looking back. I sighed. You think I came here tonight to arrest you? So cocky. You need to be knocked down. As soon as I finished, I grabbed him by the hair. His heart jumped in shock. In his eyes, if it weren't for my background, he wouldn't even bother talking to me. A 17-year-old kid. Even if he's gifted, what's he really worth? Just some wet-behind-the-ears brat. But he never expected this brat to have such strength. Once I grabbed him, he couldn't move at all. Yang, what are you trying to do? You're the young master of a prominent family. Are you willing to break the law? Let me go. Li Mingbo knew the law inside out. Over the years, he'd studied it endlessly, waiting for the day he might get caught, always looking for loopholes. But he forgot one thing in his outburst. I'm someone with no weakness. Someone with no scruples. Even if I cripple you, who's going to stop me? I chuckled lightly and planted my foot on his left leg. Maybe there's someone in Jingdu City who can handle me, Yang, but that person is definitely not Li Mingbo. It looked like I barely applied any pressure, but suddenly there was a crack. Ah! Li Mingbo screamed in agony. I squatted in front of him, eyes narrowed. I smiled. Actually, you don't have to tell me. Whether it was Li Yuling, Zhang Yuhuan or Huangya, The day your son died, they were all standing by the elevator watching him die, weren't they? Because they stood by and did nothing, you blamed them for your son's death. Hatred made you target them and then you killed them one by one, right? In the case files of the elevator deaths, only Zhang Yuhuan gave a statement, because he was the only one among the 9 victims with any recognition in the Golden Edition. But that day, whether by coincidence or not, the tragedy at the elevator killed your child. Among the people in that elevator, it just so happened that Li Yuling and the others were there. At this point, Li Mingbo seemed to forget the pain. The tragedy at the elevator killed your child. Among the people in that elevator, it just so happened that Li Yuling and the others were the ones who saved him. At this point, Li Mingbo seemed to forget the pain. His eyes widened, his face full of disbelief, as if asking, "How do you know something no one else knows?" I let go of his foot, heading down the mountain as I said, "I'll give you one more day. During that day, I hope you can make things a little harder, because when the time's up, the game will be over." By the end, my voice was so soft it was almost a whisper. "Isn't solving cases more fun? Looks like there'll be plenty to do from now on." Li Mingbo stared blankly at my back, probably thinking, does Yi Yang really think going head-to-head with a high IQ criminal is just fun? A little over an hour later, I was back at the Yi residence. The whole house was still asleep. No one knew I'd been gone for 2 hours. I went back to my room and slept quietly. When I opened my eyes again, it was already broad daylight. My mother called me from outside to eat breakfast. After washing up and eating, Grandpa went back to the military academy. Grandma went to work, and my father and mother rushed out the door. I watered the plants and left the house as well. I gave Li Mingbo 24 hours. In that time, I'd get the key evidence and send him from the hospital to prison. Whatever happened to him, it didn't deserve 9 lives as a sacrifice. He wasn't worthy. And even more so, I couldn't let him tarnish the Yi family's reputation because of himself. It took nearly half an hour by car to go from home to Xiao Dajiang's place. I walked up to the door and knocked. A hunched old woman in her 60s opened it. "Young man, who are you looking for?" "Ma'am, I'm from the Public Security Bureau." I pulled a badge out of my pocket. Earlier, I told Zhao Jingyang that I could become a temporary investigator anytime, and to avoid any trouble, I actually had my father get me one. "Take a look at the badge. I'm here today to ask you about a few things." The old woman could read. She glanced at it. "I'm just an old lady living alone in this house. What could I possibly have to do with your bureau?" I was a bit surprised. This small place, about 30 square meters, only had her living here with no descendants. I took the tea she handed me with both hands. It was a little cloudy, but I didn't mind and took a sip. "Ma'am, where's the rest of your family?" A bitter look crossed her face. "My son died in an accident 10 years ago, and his father couldn't take the blow. He passed away a month later. We were such a happy family of 3, and now there's only me left, living alone for the past 10 years. My eyes narrowed slightly. When I came, I hadn't expected Xiao Dajiang's family to be like this. Xiao Dajiang was killed because he found out Li Mingbo's secret. His father, devastated by the loss of his only son, died from the shock. Directly or indirectly, Li Mingbo had nearly 11 lives on his hands. My heart shook, but I kept my face calm. "I see. Ma'am, I'm sorry to bring this up, but I'm actually here today because of your son, Xiao Dajiang. There's a case that goes back 10 years, and through bits and pieces of evidence, we've found that your son might be the most important witness. So I'm here to ask you about it. My son's been dead 10 years. I don't know anything about his affairs. Wouldn't asking me be a waste of time?" She sighed. "Ma'am, just tell me this. Before the accident, was there anyone very close to him?" At that question, the old woman's eyes turned red. She replied, "Yes, he was dating Zhang Yuhuan at the time. Why was my son's fate so cruel? He finally found someone he liked and she died horribly, then soon after he had his accident. God, why did you do this to my family?" One question made her break down. "I never expected that Xiao Dajiang and Zhang Yuhuan were lovers." I quickly patted her back. "Ma'am, I'm here today because of your son's girlfriend, Zhang Yuhuan's case. Can you tell me, after Zhang Yuhuan was brutally killed, did your son react in any unusual way?" She said, choking up. "My husband and I went to ask him, but no matter what, he wouldn't say why." My heart jolted. Xiao Dajiang really was the key person. "Ma'am, think again. During those days, was there anything he paid special attention to? Anything he cared about?" "There was a waist pouch. He wore it almost every day. But on the day of the accident, he left it at home. When we buried him, I had it buried with him." My heart sank. From her words, I could almost be sure the key evidence was in that waist pouch, but unfortunately, it had been buried with him. To get it, I'd have to dig up Xiao Dajiang's grave and open the coffin. But for an old woman like her, would she let me dig up the grave? Watching her sad expression, I felt a headache coming on. But if I didn't open the coffin, I couldn't get the evidence. After thinking it over, I tested the waters. "Ma'am, do you really think your son's death was an accident?" She froze slightly. Yes. Didn't the driver admit it in court? But did you know he was a cancer patient? Not long after he went to prison. He died of the illness. The old woman nodded. I know. His family told me later. That accident nearly destroyed their family too. At first, I hated them, but later, what was the use of hating? I could read between the lines. She was someone who could talk herself into letting go. Otherwise, she wouldn't have forgiven her son's killer just because the other family was ruined. Ma'am, what if I told you that your son was deliberately murdered? Would you believe me? The old woman's eyes went wide, and she couldn't speak for a long time. I sat her down and said slowly, Ma'am, I can't be 100% sure, but Brother Dajiang's death, directly linked to the serial murder case that shook Kyoto a decade ago, and the items in that burial waste pouch are crucial. You mean to take the waste pouch out? She leaned in and asked. I nodded heavily. Auntie, don't you want to find the real killer? To let her rest in peace? The old lady's tears streamed down, repeating over and over, how can this be? She's been sleeping for so many years. Must we wake her? Auntie, you're understanding, even the driver who killed your son. You could forgive. Why won't you let her die knowing the truth? She fell silent again, head down, saying nothing. I said no more, waiting for her to decide. Time ticked by and finally she looked up. Does it have to be this way? That pouch, we've looked at it. There's nothing inside. Auntie, maybe it wasn't checked carefully back then. If there really is nothing inside, rest assured. I'll still have your son's grave open today. Otherwise, the timing is off and things might change. The old lady hesitated no more, nodded, and replied, Fine, I'll follow your lead. I immediately picked up my phone. Arranged for a few professionals to go to Huanshan Forest Garden, dig up a grave, and find a Taoist priest to perform the rites. Okay, young Master Yi, when will the people arrive? Must be before dusk today. Exhume the grave and open the coffin. We'll finish by 4 in the afternoon. Hanging up, I said to Xiao Dajiang's mother, Auntie, let's go to Huanshan Forest Garden now. Young man, you say Dajiang. She really won't blame us? I gently patted her shoulder. If she was murdered, that's when she'd truly blame you. Just then the workers arrived. I nodded to signal the start of the exhumation. Actually, I knew very well. Xiao Dajiang might not have died unjustly. She and Zhang Yuhuan were lovers. If she really had evidence against Li Mingbo, she should have gone to the police immediately. But she didn't. Instead, a few days later she was eliminated by Li Mingbo. There's only one possibility. Xiao Dajiang and Li Mingbo had some unspeakable secret. I would never say this in front of the old lady. Otherwise the grave opening wouldn't happen today. After the Taoist performed the rites, the workers moved in to open the grave. After a while, the coffin was finally dug out. It was a tree burial to save land. Cremation had become widespread these years. Only some personal belongings and the waste pouch I was looking for. The coffin was hoisted up. I looked at the weeping old lady and asked, Auntie, can we open the coffin? Open it, open it. If there's an injustice, she will surely thank you. She wiped her tears. I nodded to the workers. With a clatter, the coffin was opened. The first thing I saw was the burial waste pouch. I reached out, grabbed it, and pulled open the rusted zipper. But when opened, it was empty, as if nothing had ever been placed inside. Buried underground for 10 years. The fabric was frayed. Still, it couldn't have lost its contents. Unhurried, I reached my hand inside and felt carefully. No one understood what I was doing, including the old lady. She knew the pouch was empty, but I insisted it was crucial evidence, which is why she agreed to open the coffin. Besides, she had her own ulterior motive. She wanted to get her son a better burial plot. Young man, can this pouch really be evidence? She was a bit uneasy. I already knew she was aware of the pouch's condition. But I didn't blame her. Pinching a corner, I said, evidence found. Auntie, barring any surprises, tonight your son's cause of death will be made public. Then I turned to the workers. First, move Mr. Xiao's ashes to a temporary storage and relocate the casket. In 2 days, we'll set the new grave. The old lady moved, grabbed my hand. Young man, you know I lied to you. Why are you still doing this? A parent's heart is always pitiable. I smiled. Auntie, the Yi family keeps their word. What we promise, we won't go back on. Look, isn't this pouch empty? Leaving those words, I didn't linger. I took a car straight to my mother Su Wanrong's office. She was rereading the autopsy reports of Li Yulin and other victims, hoping to find new clues from the old records. Find new leads. When the door opened, she was about to be annoyed, but seeing it was me, I had a smile on my face. Younger, Mom, call Dad. He can issue an arrest warrant directly. Arrest Li Yulin? Arrest Li Yulin? You got the evidence? She exclaimed. Look, I mysteriously took out the pouch. The stitching had been torn open. I pulled out a folded photograph with short creases. The photo was blurry, almost pitch black, but a silvery light illuminated a person's face. Zhang Yuhuan was not killed at Shaoguang Bridge at all, but at Shaoguang Park, which was later demolished. Xiao Dejiang, using the decorative lights by the flower beads in the park, captured Li Yulin and Zhang Yuhuan on camera. My mother was stunned. Back then, the investigation into Zhang Yuhuan's primary death scene all pointed to Shaoguang Bridge. Never expected the real location was Shaoguang Park. Even more unexpected, that night, while a brutal killer was murdering a woman, another person was nearby in the dark, using that near-impossible light to capture the criminal's face. My mother stared at the yellowed photo. Unbelievable. Heaven's net is vast. But why didn't Xiao Dajiang hand over the photo back then? To us? Mom, you probably don't know yet. Xiao Dajiang and Zhang Yuhuan. My mother's eyes widened. That's impossible. If she was dating him, why didn't she save someone? Only Li Mingbo can answer that. He can tell us. Call Dad now. We can hold a press conference before sunset today. Announce that the serial murder case from 10 years ago is solved. Mom immediately called Dad. On the other end, Dad got completely excited. I could hear his voice from where I was standing. Seriously. The 10-year-old case is cracked, and our son cracked it. Of course, otherwise relying on you, who knows if another 10 years would be enough. Get people to Dashang Mall to make the arrest now, Mom said irritably. Dad laughed loudly, but quickly caught himself. That guy hasn't even shown up. No way. Is she trying to run? Mom's expression changed drastically. Only I smiled and took the phone. She can't run. Last night I took the time to break her leg. She should be in the hospital now. Check it out. I'll go pick her up myself. What? You broke her leg last night? Weren't you sleeping the whole time? Dad exclaimed. I rolled my eyes. You've already scared the snake out of the grass, and you're still able to sleep. No wonder Grandma says you got that position for free. Screw you. I'm calling people to catch her. I'll deal with you later. She hung up in frustration. Only a little over 10 minutes later, the phone rang. That old photo I have now is the most crucial piece of evidence. But if someone else goes, I'm not sure they can crack it. Li Mingbo, after all, too many years have passed. A single photo isn't hard proof, but no matter. Right now I'm heading to the orthopedic hospital. Li Mingbo is a bird in a cage, can't fly away. As I expected, he's lying in a hospital bed. His left leg wrapped in plaster, his expression dark. He doesn't think I can actually find evidence to pin him. But the moment he thinks of my young face, hatred surges in him. Yang, you think breaking my leg will keep me from leaving, giving you plenty of time to investigate? Li Mingbo is a nobody, just a nobody. But this nobody once caused citywide panic. He's confident and impatient. He looks up at the clock. 3 in the afternoon. Only a little over 2 hours until the evening he agreed to meet Yang. Will Yang really bring the police to arrest him? He can't help but smirk coldly. But before the smile fades, the hospital door is suddenly shoved open. 7 or 8 police officers swarm in, all holding guns on him. Li Mingbo is stunned, staring blankly, trying to say something. But when he sees me step out from behind the cops, a strange panic sets in. I was forced to break his other leg. As the words leave my mouth, I walk up to him. His face goes pale. With the punch landing, screams ring out. Li Mingbo, you are suspected of murdering Li Yulin, Huang Ye, Zhang Yuhuan, Xiao Dajiang, and 10 other victims in 2007. This is an arrest warrant. Take a good look. I hold the warrant in my hand. He trembles in pain, but his eyes are locked on me. That's impossible. You have no evidence. What right do you have to arrest me? He says. No evidence? Why would I come for you then? Do you remember that photo of Xiao Dajiang? I ask with a smile, holding up the picture. Li Mingbo, think hard. Do you still have a twin brother? He reaches out to grab it, but there's no chance. At this point, you still think your IQ is higher than everyone else's? That your methods can beat every criminal investigator? Li Mingbo, you were too careless. 10 years ago, when you bribed the hit-and-run driver to kill Xiao Dajiang, you shouldn't have stopped there and left that most crucial piece of evidence untouched. You'll always be a failed criminal. Corner him. He goes limp like a punctured beer can, slumping weakly against the bed. Did you really dig it out of his grave? He's been buried for 10 years, and you still managed to dig it up. The truly important things are safest only when buried in the ground. I stare at him. Spill it. Why didn't Xiao Dajiang stop you from killing Zhang Yuhuan that night? Instead, he just took photos. That's what I'm most curious about. Xiao Dajiang and Zhang Yuhuan were lovers. Any man watching someone kill his own partner wouldn't patiently snap pictures, right? Li Mingbo stays silent, eyes closed. I know what he's thinking and smile. You're thinking about how to wriggle out of this or make excuses. Don't kid yourself. With me here, you're not getting away. He slowly opens his eyes and asks a bizarre, off-topic question. Yang, are you really only 17? I smile. What do you think? Your mind, your intelligence. How could you just be some green kid? He almost grinds his teeth. I give a faint smile. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you need to give me the answer now. See, I already scratched your itch. Don't you think you should scratch mine? After a long sigh, he grits out through the pain. Truth is, I don't get it either. Why Xiao Dajiang did that night. All I know is he came to me later, asking for 500,000 hush money. I know his type too well, can't buy him off with money. Had to have someone take him out. But I figure there must have been some irreconcilable conflict between him and Zhang Yuhuan at the time. Back then, in the mall, a supervisor was also chasing her. When I made my move, he was still on the phone with that guy. Maybe Xiao Dajiang had his own grudge against him. Besides, Xiao Dajiang's family was always struggling. Even as head of security, his monthly salary wasn't high. At that point, he was more likely trying to get. This method could have gained him heretical wealth. It's also possible he only learned it after I killed Zhang Yuhuan. There's only one photo. It's a picture of me sitting next to him after I killed him. I finally sort of understand. Right, what was the reason? Only Xiao Dajiang himself knows. Matters of love and emotion easily blind and cloud the heart. Alright, enough about him. Are you really blaming those 9 people just because your son died in an elevator? At that moment, Li Mingbo's eyes suddenly glistened with a bright light. His voice low. You know, that Li Yuling was right next to my son at the time. He was quick to react and ran up in time. Why was he so stupid? He could have grabbed my son and run. He had plenty of time. And that Huang Ye, that damn woman was right next to the emergency stop switch. Why didn't he think to hit it? Then my son would have lost at most his feet. But because of their stupidity and panic, they got my son killed. He was like a crazed beast, but I just shook my head. I think I understand your mindset better now. When you killed Li Yuling, you really did it out of hate. But later you realized killing was fun, like smoking or even doing drugs. It gets addictive, doesn't it? How do you know? He asked, horrified. I let out a soft breath, turned silently, and didn't say another word. I stepped forward and grabbed his hand. He was still yelling, Yi Yang, who the hell are you? I'm just Yi Yang. I didn't look back. Li Mingbo, I'm just familiar with the psychology of people like you. Toward the end, you didn't even want revenge for your son anymore, because you knew those girls were innocent. They might have had faults, but they didn't deserve to die. You just couldn't control yourself anymore. Plus, the police couldn't track you down, so you gradually became reckless, craving the terrified look on their faces as they died. You even loved touching their cold bodies, right? After saying that, I walked out the door, leaving Li Mingbo staring blankly at my back. Speechless. I wasn't wrong. By the time he killed Huang Ye, there was no hatred left in his heart. But he never expected killing to be addictive. Li Mingbo was cuffed and dragged away on his broken legs. I stood outside the hospital room and called my father. Has the driver's family been handled properly? It's done. They'll testify in court, my father said softly. I could tell he was genuinely happy. By the way, there's a press conference this evening. You should come. Pursed my lips. No interest. Now that the case is solved, I'm no longer part of the security system. I'm still a student. Ha ha ha. Right, you're still a student. This time Dad's basking in your glory. I'll get you a big gift later. How about that? Sounds good. Depends on the gift. We chatted for a bit, then hung up. Seeing nothing else to do, I went back to the Yi residence. The cook, Mrs. Wang, saw me and immediately wanted to make me something to eat. I found a decent excuse and turned on the TV. By evening, every channel in Kyoto was broadcasting the same report. According to the latest news, the serial torture murder case that shocked Kyoto 10 years ago has been successfully solved. The criminal was apprehended at 3:42 p.m. at Byuk Hospital. According to security authorities, the torture murder case that occurred 2 days ago and the serial case from 10 years ago were committed by different killers. Both cases have been cracked, but I was truly amazed. Other than the efforts of the security department, a young man surnamed Yi, who wishes to remain anonymous, played the greatest role in both cases. I watched the report. The fact that my information had been leaked, being involved from start to finish, couldn't be completely hidden. But then my mother suddenly called. Mom, what's up? Xiao Dajiang's mother showed up too. She has something to tell you. Soon, I heard that woman's voice. Master Yi, thank you for your kindness. It's just that my son doesn't deserve such treatment. Thank you truly, and let me take this chance to apologize. I really shouldn't have kept it from you before. I smiled. There's really no need. No need. Just bury him here. She got what she deserved. All right, I understand. I won't do good deeds for no reason. There are too many people in the world who need help. There's no need to help someone who might not be worth it. The reason I did that was only because I promised her. Now that she doesn't want it, I'll naturally go along with it. I put down the phone and kept watching TV. It wasn't until nearly 10 p.m. that my parents came home. As soon as they arrived, my mother called me out of my room. Yi Yang, your dad has a gift for you. I didn't really think my father would actually give me anything. I looked surprised. Dad, you were serious about what you said this afternoon? My father laughed heartily and patted my shoulder. What did you think? You should have seen the look on Zhao Qingyang's face when he came to my office, like he'd eaten crap. It was absolutely satisfying. So this time, you've made the greatest contribution to the Yi family and the entire public security system. The gift must be given. So bring it out. Stop being mysterious. But after waiting a while, my parents didn't even get up, and there was no gift box on the table. My mother smiled pursed-lipped and said, "Your dad is going to have you. Graduate from high school early. Next semester, you'll directly attend the Kyoto Police Academy." I was completely stunned. At first, hearing that I didn't have to finish senior year, I secretly rejoiced. I never expected it just meant changing schools to keep studying. Seeing that I wasn't happy, my father said, "The Kyoto Police Academy is the highest-level public security academy in the country. Those who can study there all have the talent to become excellent security officers. When it was founded, your grandfather was an honorary president. I also graduated from there. Yang, the people there are very interesting. Don't you want to give it a try?" Very interesting, but the top graduates from there, as long as they're not unlucky, can all reach high positions. But many people have said that the top students from the police academy are also criminal geniuses on the flip side. If they turn to crime, it'll definitely leave the security system completely stunned. And I gotta admit, I'm feeling a little uneasy in this world. I've got money and power to spare. No one dares to mess with me, only I mess with them. Day after day it's just eat, have fun, sleep, too boring. So when the grisly murder case came up, and it involved the Yi family, I couldn't wait to show up. If I really get a bunch of interesting people as classmates, life might be a lot more fun. At least better than staring at textbooks all day in high school, right? Alright. Then I'll go check out the Capitol Police Academy. Mom was thrilled. Great, great. I'll go right now and get everything you need for next semester. I broke out in a cold sweat and said, "Mom, next semester is still a month away. Why are you in such a hurry?" The news that the 10-year-old serial murder case was solved spread all over the streets of the capital. That mysterious Yi kid became legendary, talked about as a born detective genius, a top international criminal investigation academy prodigy. Some even said Yi Yang wasn't really a Yi. His real surname was Ji, and he was the reincarnation of a hellbound soul. I smirked at those comments. But as time passed, busy people don't keep thinking about a case every day. Until 2 weeks later, when Li Mingbo and Wang Wei went to court and hit the news again, causing another stir. My mind was already elsewhere, browsing occasionally. But info on that academy was scarce online, probably a deliberately protected school. Before my father mentioned it, I had no idea such a place even existed. Every summer, the Capitol Police Academy sends invitations to pre-selected students. These include not just kids from elite families, but also some from ordinary households. The catch is the same: they all have the potential to become good public security officers or even leaders. Right before the semester started, I received my invitation from the Capitol Police Academy. It was my father's idea. Don't pull the Yi family strings until the last moment. When the invitation arrived at the Yi house, my father laughed with joy. Those old farts at the Capitol Police finally haven't lost their minds. Our Yi Yang cracked 2 major cases. If they don't actively recruit a student like that, it'd be a travesty. As the whole family eagerly waited, the new semester finally began. Mom helped pack bags and bags of stuff, clothes, daily necessities, backup items. I looked at all the luggage and felt my scalp tingle. "Mom, the Capitol Police Academy is right in the capital, just half an hour from home. What are you doing?" "I'm not going far." Mom didn't care, just pointed at one bag. "This one's all clothes, this one's all shoes, and this one, remember this, has got everything you might need. Also, here's a card. I'll check the balance every so often. When it's low, I'll add more." I took the card with a wry smile. Not too much in here, just 100,000. My mouth twitched hard. Heaven knows, I'm just a 17-year-old student. My allowance is 6 figures and completely unlimited. When it runs out, they'll put more in. Okay, I admit the family has some businesses churning out money endlessly, but 100,000 for pocket money is just too extravagant. With a look of loving motherly concern, I sighed silently and pocketed the bank card. "Got it. When the money's almost gone, I'll call you ahead of time." Mom suddenly got a little emotional, hugging me tight. "Yi Yang, take good care of yourself. Eat on time, rest on time." "Got it." I grabbed my suitcase. "Got it. I'll definitely gain a few pounds by the holidays." With a smile, I left home and caught a bus to the Capitol Police Academy. Every year, the academy sends highly specialized students all over the country. For many who dream of a career in public security, this place is sacred, a paradise for rising from the bottom. As the break ended, the campus gradually came alive, seeming to be filled with dreams and youthful energy. No filth should ever exist in a place like this. On the roof of a certain dormitory building 7 stories up, no one had been there for 2 months. The wind howled across the rooftop, making all the metal clang. some sheets rattling, some objects banging. But the iron door at the top seemed to completely isolate the rooftop from the rest of the building. Nobody had ever seen what it looked like up there. They only knew there was a water tower. Now that school had started, the water tower would begin its new job. Today, there wasn't a single drop of water in the tower. Just a few small creatures kept ramming against its metal walls, making a faint thumping sound. If you put your ear to it, you could hear the squeaking of tiny animals inside. No doubt, there were probably several rats in that water tower. I stood at the entrance of the Capitol Police Academy. The security guard had proper procedures, standing straight with eyes like a hawk. Just that scene was already better than most schools. The academy had a unique feature. Students varied widely in age, some in their mid-20s. Older ones often felt out of place, while the younger ones naturally seemed superior. But the academy was still a comprehensive school. Most knowledge was meant to help build a career in public security, but it also required math, English, physics, and chemistry just like anywhere else. As I reached the gate, the guard immediately raised his hand to stop me. "Student, please show your admission letter." I pulled it out of my bag. Even during registration, the academy didn't allow parents inside. Any student who needed a parent to accompany them would be laughed at. The guard checked it and then waved me through. I smiled and said thanks. Entered the gate, found the admissions office, registered my info, and was assigned a dorm. I finally got the dormitory key. Jingjing's amenities are pretty good, 3 people to a room, each with their own bed. I entered the dorm. My roommates hadn't arrived yet, so I put my things away and quietly played on my phone for a while. Soon the door opened, and a young man in his early 20s walked in. He had a crew cut and was shorter than me. But he was very sturdy. He paused when he saw me, then said, "Hey, are you in this dorm too?" I nodded. He was even more shocked. "So the legend about Jingjing is true. Students here really don't have an age limit. Dude, you look 17 or 18 at most. Just turned 17, but you can call it 18. Damn, a genius. That's awesome. Buddy, I'm Zhou Chao from Beha City. Nice to meet you." I smiled and shook his hand, exchanging pleasantries. Then the last roommate arrived. Zhou Chao's expression turned unsettled again, because the person who came in was also a young teenager, wearing glasses and somewhat old clothes. He looked at me and Zhou Chao, gave a small smile, but his eyes were a bit timid. Hi, I'm Li Duo. I'm Yi Yang. I'm Zhou Chao. Dude, how old are you? Zhou Chao seemed really concerned about that. 19. Geez, is this even fair? 3 people in one dorm, one 17, one 19, and I'm 21. How do I have the nerve to sleep in the same room as you 2 big shots? Zhou Chao beat his chest in frustration. Li Duo and I couldn't help laughing. But Li Duo kept glancing at me, and finally couldn't hold back and asked, "Are you really only 17? I hummed in affirmation. He pursed his lips and smiled. "Looks like this place was a good choice. It's going to be fun." I gave him a restrained look. He actually had the same idea as me, to have fun. The 3 of us chatted for a while. We decided to check out the cafeteria, since it determines the whole semester's meals, something we couldn't ignore. Thankfully, Jingjing's cafeteria wasn't that bad. The food was decent. At least Li Duo and Zhou Chao were grinning and couldn't stop praising Jingjing. But after eating, we returned to the dorm. The otherwise great Jingjing left a bad impression. No water in the dorm. Li Duo was shirtless, and even with the air conditioning, he still felt sticky. After waiting a while, he said, "This won't do. Let's go ask the dorm supervisor downstairs." "When is the water coming?" Zhou Chao and I agreed. Not being able to shower in this heat is really a headache. The 3 of us went downstairs and found there were already many people asking. The dorm supervisor, hearing the uproar, picked up a megaphone and shouted, "Don't worry, students. I only arrived at school this evening myself. I've already reported the situation. It should be that the water tank on the roof hasn't been used for too long and has broken down. But it's too late now. The school administration said a repairman will come tomorrow." "Have to wait until tomorrow? Then we'll stink like salted fish tonight." Yeah. We need water, we need to shower. Wang Daming in our dorm has smelly feet. If there's no water, we'll all be suffocated tonight," the students shouted. The supervisor struggled to handle it. Li Duo sighed. I said, "Forget it, let's go back to the dorm. We'll make do for the night." "Guess that's all we can do," Li Duo replied. Unexpectedly, Zhou Chao had a sudden idea. "It's just a water tank, right? We can go up and fix it ourselves." I saw the school store sells small tools. "Come on, brothers. Let's buy some tools, go up to the roof and fix that water tank. Get some water for all our classmates in the dorm building." Zhou Chao was determined to act. I also felt uncomfortable from sweating all day. For something we could do ourselves, there was no need to wait until tomorrow. So the 3 of us went to the store to buy some tools. When no one was looking, we slipped up to the top floor. But there was an iron door blocking the way. A big lock hung on the door. Zhou Chao, holding a wrench and shirtless with his sturdy upper body, asked, "Smash it. We're already here, why not?" Anyway, Knowing the school's usual style, they'd definitely make us wait until tomorrow. Zhou Chao wedged the wrench into the lock loop. With a click, the lock popped open. He pushed open the iron door covered in cobwebs, and a gust of wind blew in. The wind felt nice, but my nose twitched. I blocked Zhou Chao and Li Duo. This smell seems off. Smelling more carefully, it was the odor of rot. Not strong, but I could detect it. Soon after, Li Duo also turned to look at me. There really is a smell, probably from some animal that died and rotted. On this rooftop, maybe a rat or a bird that fell from the sky. I nodded slightly. I smiled and said, let's just go fix the water tank. The temperature up here is insanely high. I'm already roasting. Let's hurry up. Otherwise, if we get caught, even doing a good deed will get us scolded, Zhou Chao said as he headed toward the water tank. The water tank on the roof was huge. There was a puddle of water beneath it. Zhou Chao looked at it and said helplessly, I thought it was some big problem. Turns out the valve just came loose. When water was pumped, the pressure knocked the valve off onto the ground. With that gap, water pressure drops, so no water goes into the pipes. That explains it.